So, welcome to the show. And today I'm extremely pleased to be able to welcome the John Gray. For those of you that might have been living under a rock somewhere and haven't heard of John, John is the author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And John has actually authored another 21 books. So he is an amazing man who spent his life dedicated to helping couples become the very best they can be inside their relationship. So John, welcome.
Well, thanks so much. I'm really happy to be with you and also be in Australia right now. This is fun.
Thank you. Well, it's a beautiful day here in Perth on the west coast of Australia. So, John, we're all locked down at the moment. This is a very unique period that we find ourselves in. And I think, you know, a lot of it's been covered in the media recently, but couples are certainly finding it a bit of a strain to be locked inside, particularly if the relationship, you know, hasn't been great. And it certainly presents like a completely new dynamic that most people are unaware of. Marie and I had an experience of this for a number of years. We actually got a yacht and sailed around the world for 3.5 years. So we were locked in a little tiny 43-foot cylinder together. So we had to develop some skills.
We did, John. We had 2 captains. So the first year was really tough. We had to sort out a lot of stuff, but we came out the other end, and then the 2 years after that were absolutely bliss.
So, John, how are you finding, you know, being locked down yourself? And secondly, what do you think the differences are between men and women in terms of, you know, dealing with stressful periods like this?
Well, I think, first of all, I would just like to confirm around the world, couples are having big challenges. Even couples that have a good relationship are having big challenges. I think you guys have been through it because you were in that boat for so long. So you develop certain skills when you're together all the time. But a lot of couples, they have a lovely relationship, but right now it's bringing up issues that they didn't know. It just activates anything which is going on. Makes it stronger, more intense. And you can see this in China, for example, where people came out of their homes after being in for several months. The result was in Wuhan, the sort of center of the whole thing, what was it, 12 couples a week were getting a divorce as an average. And suddenly when they're coming out, it's now 300 couples a week getting a divorce.
Wow. Wow.
So, you know, some people say, oh, these were problems that were actually deep inside and they weren't looking at it. And I go, no, that's not the case. What happens is when we're in danger and we don't know how to lower the stress, what would be a little issue becomes a big issue. That's how our brains are designed. If we're worried and suddenly our cortisol levels go off, then our hormones go out of balance and the brain starts looping and a sort of a downward spiral of things are worse and worse and worse. The brain just can't shut off. And it's like, oh no, I don't like this. Oh no, I don't like this. You know, it's continuing. So we want to turn that around. And I know you've already given some nice presentations for people on that because you've learned. For me, you asked me personally, this is like a vacation for me. My relationship is thriving and because I have the relationship skills, but also I have to say I live in a nice house and pretty much my mortgage, I can handle my mortgage and my payments and so forth. So I don't have a lot of the challenges couples have like that because that brings a relationship to more stress.
I think that's a good point, John. Like, it's not just the fact that we're locked inside. Like, obviously in the US and most Western countries right now, our economies are shut down. So we've you know, threatened literally with being out of a job for most people, no income, which, you know, from the female perspective, there goes all the security and safety. So it is a very challenging time from that perspective. There's a lot of stress there that really hasn't probably for a lot of people been there before. So how do you think men and women handle that scenario differently?
Well, that's one of the big themes of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, which is how men and women most effectively cope with stress. Now, there's ways we cope with stress, but there's ways we can most effectively cope with stress to lower our stress levels. So we're looking at somebody who knows how to handle their stress levels, if they're a man or a woman. And what we'll see is that a man who can effectively cope with his stress, he will tend to take time alone or take time where he's going to be solving a puzzle, a problem, In the old days, we called it a hobby. Basically, we could update that phrase, a hobby, into anything a woman would consider to be a waste of time for her husband to be doing is actually the perfect stress reducer for men. And now, in my later book, Beyond Mars and Venus, 25 years later after writing Men Are From Mars, I have the biological, biochemical foundation of that. It turns out that when men go to their cave, as I talked about in Men Are From Mars, we just have our space. And when you go to that place and you're doing something that's enjoyable, that helps you to forget your problems, distraction, and it's challenging and you're good at it. Any of those things, solving problems, but they're not causing stress, then your body naturally, if you're a man, rebuilds testosterone. Now, testosterone is the stress reducing hormone for men. It lowers cortisol levels. And for a man, in order to lower cortisol levels, he needs to make 10 times more testosterone than a woman. So you might say men need 10 times more space. They need 10 times
which of course, John, drives women crazy.
So the problem with men taking space is that right now they might think they need to take more space, because what happens is when we're not in this crisis, 80% of your time is out in the world solving problems. And if you're solving problems, you're also keeping your testosterone levels up. But if you don't feel you're solving problems, you're not working, making a difference, solving things that have a significance, then your testosterone levels will start to drop. And then just sitting in the cave may not raise them very quickly. Okay,
yes.
So the more powerless you feel as a man, the more your testosterone goes down. You can go off and do your hobbies and whatever to rebuild testosterone. But if you're not using it throughout the day, going to the cave is not so effective. So let me give you an example of that. Work and rest. We go to work and then we rest. Rest rebuilds. But if you don't go to work, then resting isn't going to give you the same rebuilding of testosterone. So, and this is confusing for men, because normally I can just go and play my video game, or I'll go meditate, or go watch the news, and I'm done after 30 minutes. It's done. I rebuilt. I'm ready to come back to the family, interact, or whatever. Yep. Now you sort of get glued to the couch. For many men, you start becoming passive. Symptoms of low testosterone in men are grumpiness, irritability, resistance, passiveness, lack of motivation, bad mood. And anytime a man is depressed, his testosterone is dramatically low. And if he's called upon to do something and his testosterone is low, there'll naturally be a sort of sense of annoyance, irritation. And if an argument sets in, he's quick to anger. Anger is actually a symptom of low testosterone. And
that's a really good point, John. And I think you were talking before about skills and the acquisition of skills, and part of that obviously comes to awareness. Recognizing that in your book that you just mentioned, that you outline these types of recognitions and skills. So as a man, you can recognize when this behavior is happening. Oh, okay, I've got low testosterone. I need to do something to move out of this phase and get my testosterone up and going, because then it'll be far more pleasant to be around and she'll be very happy.
Yes.
And also, you understand the differences, I think, for us, just knowing the fact that he needs that time, and not to take that as an attack. As a woman, not to take that time where he doesn't want to be with you or he doesn't want to be with a family, that he just needs this time. And I think that's important, because when you don't have that awareness, you're constantly nagging or whinging for him to do stuff. But it's okay to have that time.
And one of the points that we made in our recent video, John, was that, exercise during this period is very, very important. So, what you've just said, I think is very, very powerful for men to be able to understand that this is what's going to happen. These are the indicators for you, and you need to get up and you need to be doing something to start increasing your testosterone. So what other suggestions would you have for men to be able to get that going for them?
I would just want to underline what was just said, which is So, so important. It needs to be said again. I think so many women have told me what you just said, which is when my husband takes his space, I don't take it personally. I realize it's not about me. See, for many women, they're not testosterone oriented so much. They don't need that time to rebuild. So when he pulls away, her own experience is, well, when I don't feel safe, or when I'm angry with my partner, or my partner's disappointed me, I don't feel I can get support, then I'm going to pull away from him. So generally, women will detach and pull away when they're feeling angry with their partner or mistrustful of their partner, or they have so much anger and resentment that they say, I don't care about you anymore, and they pull away. So women become uncaring as a result of much, much disappointment and frustration and anger. It builds up inside, and then they just say, I'm going to my cave, I don't care. Now, that's not every woman, but that's generally the case. So if that's been her pattern, then when he pulls away, it has nothing to do with you. But she goes, oh, why is he upset with me? Why is he being critical of me? And she might go, what did I do wrong? Where's our relationship going? There's a big problem here.
You don't care about me.
Does the thing that makes it worse. Unknowingly, she does the thing that makes it worse, is she tries to get him to talk about his feelings and what's going on inside. And talking about feelings is really helpful for women. But for men, if you talk about feelings, you're not in the cave. Cave is leave your feelings behind. This is the no feeling zone, because feelings generate estrogen, and estrogen, the female hormone, lowers testosterone at a time when he's trying to build testosterone. So it's a no feeling zone. And men need to practice this even when they go to that no feeling zone, is they need to say, okay, she said something that upset me. Forget it. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. It's temporary. Feelings come and go. I don't need to think about it right now. I need to forget it. Forgetfulness is a man's superpower. Women don't have it.
Which, of course, again, drives women crazy. How can you forget the important stuff in life?
So to balance this, before we go into more things for men, I always have to balance it. For women, you see that the balance here is estrogen, this hormone, which we men have. It's the hormone of emotion. It's the hormone of love. It's also the hormone of appreciation. It's love, okay? So many flavors of love. And when estrogen goes up, we naturally feel more appreciation and more openness and more peacefulness. And it's generated at times when we feel safe. We feel safe, we're relaxed, and somebody does something for us, or we feel someone has done something for us and we appreciate it. Now, this estrogen hormone, women need to make 10 times more than men. So if a woman's making testosterone all day long, meaning I have to do it myself, I've got problems to solve, I got to do this, which is often what worrying does, is I got to do this. What she's doing is making testosterone rather than her estrogen. Estrogen is feeling, I don't have to do it all myself, I have help. So this is the time we're going to get to, I had this new technique for this time, which is fantastic to rebuild, balance the hormones, but we'll get to it. It doesn't make any sense. It even sounds sexist unless we first understand that men and women really are different. So one of the key things that women would talk about back in the 90s when I wrote Men Are From Mars, they're always telling me, my husband, he doesn't listen. He's always interrupting. He wants to solve the problem. He wants to tell me I shouldn't feel that way. He'll minimize my problems. He'll do things like, don't worry about it. It's not such a big deal. Or why are you upset about that? We want to push it down. And for us to say, don't worry about it, no big deal, that puts us in the cave, which we need. But that doesn't help women. And every woman listening knows when she's upset or she's sharing something and a guy says, so what's the point? Or why are you upset about that? Or I'll handle that for you. Or even worse, and this is what men have to be noticed. Don't chuckle, don't laugh. Don't worry about that. It's not so bad. Why would you be upset about that? That's ridiculous. So either we make a joke about it, which is not good to do at that time, or we get upset about it, because men take it personally. When their wives are happy, we take that personally and feel great. But when their wives are not happy, we make the mistake of taking that personally as if it's about us. And just as women have to understand, cave time for men is not about her. He needs to recognize that if she's upset and she's worrying and she's bothered and she's complaining about stuff, that's not about you. And if you try to make her not feel that, then it becomes about you because you're not listening.
Yeah. So John, do you find that if a guy's testosterone is higher, he's not going to take it personally because he's in that masculine state?
Absolutely. That's what it's about. As soon as you start noticing that trigger, that you are starting to take it personally, you get irritated, you're feeling annoyed. What you have to know right then, your estrogen levels are starting to go up, your testosterone levels are starting to go down, and she will instinctively know it. And as a result, her testosterone levels protection will come up and her estrogen goes down. So we have to regulate. If we are getting plugged in, triggered, what you're saying is your partner is bothering you, time to time out, time to take a time out. What we're doing, the whole planet right now is actually taking a time out.
Yeah.
We have to learn how to pause and reflect on what's most important and pull away. And here's the big challenge. That's the Mars Venus idea when it comes to this, which is so helpful. But there's another aspect here that I did, well, some of my books I write about it, and that ideally in a relationship, there's something which I call the 80-20 principle. The 80-20 principle is that 80% of your life experience should provide fulfillment. 20% should come from your spouse. And to expect more from them will only create disappointment or pressure on them and create conflict and create problems. So normally, if we're not in quarantine, 80% of the time we are out in our life. We're not looking at our partner. And we're seeing this is stimulating me. I'm in my garden. I'm talking to my children. I'm taking a class. I'm at my job. I'm helping people. All of these interactions, or I have my personal time where I'm self-nurturing. I'm doing things I love to do. For me, meditation is a big part of this. I meditate. I relax. You know, singing. Some people go to dance. They have choir. You know, prayer. These are all like huge. That's 80% of your life. That has to fulfill you. And that's part of that is self-love, of course. 20%, you look to your partner for that. And ironically, if you are full and you're happy because of your life without your partner, then you give your partner a huge gift. And that's the gift that they can now take you higher than you can do yourself. That's what intimacy is about.
I totally agree, John. And I think, you know, people use divorce as a skill to solve a problem. And what they're doing is buying another problem, because the same issues are going to come up and they're going to need the same skills in the next relationship. So might as well take this opportunity to learn some skills and
let me go on to that, because, you know, we have a rule in California here where if you want to get divorced, you have to wait 6 months. And many people, after they say we're divorced and they go apart, they actually fall back in love. And the reason for that is when they're together, they say, oh, I'm not happy because of you. If you would change, I would be happy. If you would do this, I would be happy. And then on their own, they realize, well, wait a second, they're not doing anything to me now. Who's responsible for how I feel? Yes. And generally, they're then more motivated. Like men will start reading self-help books. They'll start buying new clothes. They'll bathe. They'll shave. They'll do things to go out and date. And women will start, they can't look at their partner. They're not talking to their girlfriends. They've got their life. They got dating. So there's a place where we feel totally responsible for our happiness if we're apart. And this is a time where that's the saving grace. If we recognize that when the challenges are coming up, time out, recognize this is not about my partner. This is about me spending too much time with him. Because naturally, it's very natural if you're with somebody all the time and you've had the experience of being with them and they made you happier. And now you're with them, but you're not 80% happy. They can't make you happier. They just can't. It's not impossibility. You have to have other, it's like, let's say you have all the vitamins you need except for vitamin D. And suddenly you get vitamin D, you feel fantastic. My immune system's working great, vitamin D. But then if you stop taking all the other vitamins, vitamin D doesn't do it for you anymore. That's all your partner is, they're vitamin D, so to speak. And they take you higher, and that's the benefit of intimacy. But having said that, we can go a long way to helping our partners find their happiness. And without the understanding of men and women different and our emotional needs, and of course the love in our hearts, but we have to have the wisdom to apply it. Without this understanding, typically couples, when they're having problems, are making it worse for their partner. Once you have a little problem, we tend to now make it worse. And that's what we can stop doing for our partners right now, is how to not make it worse. And we can help them find their happiness, help them find it. But the key thing is they have to be responsible for it. And the key with so many keys here, but you can't feel responsible if you're blaming your partner. That's the sign.
Yes.
That's
And the grass
indication.
isn't greener. You know, the grass isn't greener on the other side because you take yourself with you. And even with, you know, the workshops we've run, you know, we can get people that are living in different states, but they can come together. And once they start working on themselves, for themselves to be happy and clear what needs to be cleared out of the way, magic happens in the relationship.
Yeah,
That's so
absolutely.
beautifully said.
And John, given the period that we're in right now and these conflicts that are going to arise, and you know what we both find is that quite often people don't reach out early. You know, if you know in a relationship when things aren't where they should be.
Especially the woman, you know, she will know way
intuitively
go before him.
Yes, and that's the time to reach out, because you know what we find a lot is that people don't reach out until it gets to a critical level. So if things are at the moment going great, you know, we'd certainly recommend that you reach out right now and gain these skills that John's talking about to enhance your relationship. What's your take on that, John?
Well, I think it's a really great idea. I think we're in a time of great crisis, and it can be an opportunity for growth. It's like going to, you know, if you want to build your love muscles, if you want to enrich your relationship, you go through a difficult time, you challenge it. If I want to build muscles, I go to a gym and I lift heavy weights. I don't lift light weights. This is heavy weight time. And what's great about you being online here is if I go to the gym, I'm not going to pick the heavy weights. Okay. My trainer picks the weights for me. And I'm like pushing at that moment where I go, can I let go now? Can I stop? He says, give me 3 more. It's like he knows exactly what I can't do more. He says, give me 3 more. And that's what we need to do right now is keeping our vibration high, resonating with other people who are high. You know, you guys have a relationship that's working. I have a relationship, 34 years of working. You know, we have overcome these challenges. We know what we're talking about, and we have confidence it can be done. So this is where people today, you know, this is like one of the things people can do is watch this again and again, watch other people that inspire you. If you relate to what they're saying, and what they're saying is uplifting to the spirit with hope and possibility. This can be a great time of opportunity. And the signs that you have to overcome, and I like to emphasize this because I went through this many, many times in the early stages of my marriage as a man. And what I hear from women, they go through something different. Men will start to feel, no matter what I do, it's not enough to make her happy. So why even bother? Well, that's very logical. See, that's where we get. And then, so here you are, you're just feeling like, you know, we got this house. Why is she complaining? You know, why is she upset? I make more money than other people. What is the big deal? She gets so dissatisfied. I'm a great guy, you know. And so you start to feel like you're powerless to have that make a difference, to have a happy wife. Now, that powerlessness is going to be magnified right now because we don't have our 80-20 thing going. We're not out in the world working, which builds you up. Okay, so it uplifts you so you can then come home and not expect your partner to uplift you. You see, when men are saying, oh, no matter what I do, it's not enough to make her happy, he's looking to her happiness to make him feel good. He's looking for her happiness to build up his testosterone, like, look what I can do. So that's a need right now, that he has the challenge of not looking to her for that, but primarily looking to himself. And there's going to be that tendency, it's a program inside when we're not feeling powerful as men to blame somebody for it, as opposed to, oh, this is my issue. What can I do to bring myself back to open-heartedness, which biologically means raise your testosterone again, and then go do something that will enrich somebody's life. And whose life do you have? You got your kids and you got your wife there. We can go on internet and go, you know, if you're an emergency worker, you can do it that way. But most people are in their homes. You have to contribute. If you're not contributing and you're a man, your testosterone goes down. So we're going to figure out a way that you can contribute, and we'll talk about a few things for men, and a few things for women, and then what the relationship can do. Because if you have the good
let's jump over. Let's jump over to your suggestion there, and let's talk about how the girls, handled this situation. And you mentioned before a strategy that you had that might sound sexist. So let's jump into that as well.
Okay, well, first of all, I think these won't sound so sexist, but you already mentioned one of them for men: exercise. When you exercise, it's going to cause willpower. Whenever you experience as a man, I have to do something. Okay, I have to do something. That's testosterone building. Okay, then once you build up your testosterone, then you can go, now I can relax. You build it and you release it at the same time. Now you can rebuild it. Okay, so we don't have to go to work today. There's not a lot of things we have to do. Exercise, you have to do. You feel that resistance and you're overcoming it with willpower. But this is a time when you can, anything that you've been procrastinating around the house, for me, it's about clutter, okay? My wife's always complaining, get rid of that. I don't want to get rid of it. That's mine. I might need that. Clean up the garage. But wait, I have to have that. Who knows what's going to happen? So clutter is all around us for some of us. And if you have clutter, it means you have a resistance to doing clutter. If you want to rebuild your testosterone, you overcome that resistance for the purpose of rebuilding your testosterone so that now you can relax, it will rebuild, and now you can give more to your wife and give more to your children. But you got to have this personal work of overcoming inner resistance. If you meditate, maybe you meditate 15 minutes a day, go another 5 minutes, go 10 minutes, push yourself. When you push yourself to overcome whatever resistance you have inside, that builds your testosterone. Then relax. Good job. Yay, I did that. Now you'll have the energy to give more to your spouse. And that's the exercise we're going to get to in a minute. But for women, when their stress levels go up, their tendency is to clam up and go, I have to do this, I have to do this. Or they go into, I'm worried about this, I'm worried about this. And the brain goes into a bias of focusing on problems in the past and problems in the future. So this is vulnerability that women have. Their part of the brain that has to do with emotional memory is twice as big in men. And when they're not feeling safe, and this time where people don't feel safe, regardless of who your husband is, the world doesn't feel safe. So she doesn't feel safe. So when women don't feel safe, their estrogen doesn't go up. Okay, their testosterone goes up. So there's another thing, another hormone that actually tells the body that you're safe, and that's oxytocin. So oxytocin, we'll learn how to generate oxytocin, but when oxytocin gets generated, then women start to relax. Then when they start to relax, they stop doing things for other people and do more for themselves, but they also recognize where they can get help and feel better. See, when you're in testosterone land, you're not looking for help. You're looking, oh, I have to do this myself. I have to do this myself. Oh, it'd be really nice if he helped with the dishes, but he didn't do a good job anyway, and he doesn't like it, and he'll grumble about it, and maybe won't do it, and then I'll feel all rejected. So women don't ask for help at a time when they need estrogen more than ever. So an example that everybody can relate to, we have statistics on, women go to doctors a lot more than men. Probably today, women are washing their hands a lot more than men. So they're more biased towards what can go wrong. And also when it comes to health, they know other people spent their life studying it. So I'm going to go to them because I need help. When women feel I need help,
towards safety, definitely.
Yes. When I need help and I go to somebody I trust to help me, and again, the key word here is trust. Whenever you're trusting, somebody will help you, your estrogen levels go up, your happiness levels go up, you feel safe, you feel intimate, you feel open, you feel relieved. And that's what we need, is to lower that pressure, that anxiety, that cortisol level. And for women, it's all about needing more estrogen in the body and letting the testosterone levels go down. So the key for women is, one, is physical affection. Okay, physical affection, like right now, the two of you being very affectionate. She's touching you, but that works as well. If you're a single woman, you could have a dog or a cat. That would be great as well. Literally just physical touch. If you're alone or in a relationship, a bath is really good because you feel sensuality. You're in a bathtub, you're protected, you're safe. actually for me personally, because I'm on vacation here in a sense, I'm not traveling all the time. I'm more rested, more relaxed. I spend about an hour in the bathtub meditating. I find that very soothing because it stimulates. If I'm meditating, I'm focused. Okay, this is like real focus, concentration. That's my testosterone, but also I'm enjoying the warmth of the bathtub. And it's very nice and
me
relaxing.
too.
And John, to illustrate your point, and a lot of our regular listeners, know this, but one of the things that we teach in our communication code is exactly the principle. So we started to notice, we're great fans of yours, as you know, and we followed your work for many, many decades now. And then we started to see the very principles of what you teach inside the events. So we came up with that communication code of, he gets into the right state, he looks at her, he looks her in the eyes. You can even see it happening right then with Marie, right? When he's in the right state, he's looking in her eyes, and what you can actually see happen on her chest, her upper neck, and her cheeks. And this is not just with Marie, this is with any woman when we do it correctly inside the events. You can see their cheeks flush
with the oxytocin.
With the oxytocin, like that physical effect that you so often talk about is actually visually available. You can see the principle at work. It's so powerful.
It's so profound. And ultimately, for some of my critics out there, which are not many in Australia, but the critics who say, I'm a woman, but I feel more like a man, I don't relate to this. That's okay. But you also are a woman. And all I'm doing is saying, if you're stressed, try giving yourself permission to feel what these other women feel, which is a need to talk, and realize that you're afraid in most cases to look weak. Because if you're feminine, you're weak. That's the mind saying you'll be weak, as opposed to you will be more loved and understood.
And I get women saying that, John, in my 20s, I would have said that in my 20s. I was running a couple of companies. I was, go, 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 go. I was living in my masculine. It was something I had to unlearn. Then I met Brett. And what I say to women is you get the same work done, whether in your masculine or in your feminine. But the difference being is the masculine is exhausting, you're tired, you're irritable. When you come from the feminine, you get the same job done, but there's a lot more flow. There's a lot more, what to let go of, what to handle, what to let go of, and the intuition is huge.
And that's where the power of what you talk about, John, between the different hormonal levels and understanding that behavior that Marie's talking about. That when she says she's in the masculine, then her oxytocin levels are right down, her cortisol levels are right up. And when you start to understand that as men and women, you can appreciate and then balance yourself against those different levels. And that's the power of what you teach.
Exactly. So what we want is when you're actually touching in a non-sexual way, which you've been doing through this whole interview, what that's doing is helping her to feel safe. And what it can do for many men is cause them to be sleepy, because too much oxytocin for men lowers their testosterone, unless you understand that giving your wife a hug raises her oxytocin, and therefore you're making a big difference in her life, and that keeps your testosterone up. So you have to reframe the experience of non-sexual touch to recognizing that as a man, you're providing a service for her and she's enjoying it. It literally is a major oxytocin producer, which for many women, they don't even know they have a need for physical affection or hugging. Some women go, I don't need the hugs, they're like men. No, is that you haven't gotten in touch with enough estrogen to feel that need. See, this is what the research shows, is that women who have low estrogen, oxytocin doesn't lower their stress. You have to have a certain amount of estrogen for oxytocin to have an effect. Then when it has an effect, then you feel safe. Then you open up because you're feeling, oh, I need help. Oh, I appreciate what I've got. Your life is filled with gratitude and support. This feeling of gratitude and appreciation and trust, these are major attitudes linked to rising estrogen levels, appropriate levels for whoever the woman is. Maybe some women do need more estrogen than others at different ages and so forth. We have different needs, but the biology will balance itself if we're getting a situation for a woman where she feels I'm not alone, I have backup, I have support, And sometimes I have his full attention, his affection, his interest, and I'm the center of the world. Now I want to give women permission to have that time. I am the center of the world for him. This is when he is there for me. Now, that's my little game that I've created here, which is magnificent. This is so much fun. Even after this quarantine, I'm going to continue doing it. It's been so much fun. But I figured, okay, if we're not getting our 80% of hormone stimulation, just 20%, what could we do together that will knock it up, like supercharge our hormones? And this is it. So men pride themselves in being like Superman. I'm a hero, you know, I can do. That pumps up testosterone. So, and so what's going to happen is, this is called a genie in the bottle. A woman's going to rub the bottle and out comes the genie. Then you do this for 20 minutes every day or every other day, 20 minutes, a dose of supercharged hormone stimulation. So you rub you time it. There's rules. You know, it's a game. So you have rules and you follow the rules and try it. You'll resist in the beginning, because anytime we do something that's really good for us that we're not in the habit of doing, we'll still resist it. Okay, so you have to use some willpower. So you have to have logic. This is the thing some people would think is sexist, but it's so good. So you rub the genie in the bottle, he comes out, he does nothing for you. He crosses his arms, he does nothing until you ask him to do something. So for 20 minutes, your job, women, is you have to ask for help. Ask for help. So you have to think, what other things could make your life a little easier, a little bit more comfortable. The littlest things are actually the best things, because as anybody who's read my books knows that scoring points is different on Venus than on Mars, and that when you do little things, I mean, count them.
Seriously, John, what is it about women and garbage cans? You know, I just don't understand how their eyes light up so much when you take the garbage out. Seriously.
So the bottom line here is little things. If we summarize that concept, it's something big stimulates estrogen. Oh, he did something really amazing. Her estrogen will go up. But actually, he does something little. Her estrogen goes up as well, almost the same. You give her 24 roses. Her oh, how nice, how beautiful. Give her 1 rose. Oh, how nice, how beautiful. So this is, you've got to understand the system here, man. It's lots of little things. And this 20 minutes is to be filled with lots of little things that you have no resistance to. Now,
so I was going to say, he can't resist that, John. He's not allowed to go, no, I'm grumpy.
Whatever she asks for, within 20 minutes, he is the genie. He will say, it is my pleasure. I enjoy doing this. I'd be happy to do that. It'd be so much wonderful. I can see it's making you happier. That just fills my heart. I love to make you happy. And within 5 minutes,
nothing would light my life up more than to take the garbage out for you. That would just like make my day.
This is supercharging intimacy, whatever it is that would make her feel good. You see, what happens is when women get on that male side, they stop asking, they stop feeling their need for help. They start feeling, I have to do it myself. He doesn't want to do it. He doesn't care. He's off in his cave. And let's say he's in his cave and you want to play the game. You basically say, honey, when you're out of your cave, I need your help. That's the key phrase. I need your help. And you can use that always to get a man out of the cave. Not like out now, but when you're done in the cave, I need your help. And this way, what is the help? 20 minutes. Now you can't say, these are rules. You can't say, okay, I want you tomorrow to do this and this and this. No, this is not tomorrow. This is immediate gratification. It's what I want you to do now. It's not like, oh, I want you to never do that again. You always leave the lights on. You should never do that again. Genie can only do in that 20 minutes. That's it. The next day, you got the genie within 20 minutes, and you get to feel and practice as a woman asking for help and getting it. Men get to practice. And within 5 minutes, men, you'll start to feel the man you were when you knelt before her and said, you are my dream. You're the woman I serve. I give my life for you. That pledge. And the woman said, yes, I believe it. It's all, these are all these hormone balances, and doing this just simply, even if you're doing it and having to pretend like you like it, that's okay. It will come.
And John, you know, I think that's a brilliant game. And I think for the guys to realize, all men know that we want our partners to be happy. We know that we love it when they are happy. Every man around the world, doesn't matter what audience we stand in front of, I talk to the guys about, they recognize that principle in ourselves. And I think that game is just perfect for using that principle, that when we do that small stuff and she is happy, then, hey, we're happy.
Absolutely. So let me give some women some hits. Honey, I want you to give me, in the next 20 minutes, I want you to give me 3 unsolicited hugs and whisper in my ear something nice. And in that hug, it should last for 6 to 8 seconds. So we connect. So just, yes, you can say that within a 20 minutes, it can be unsolicited. Then you say, in the meanwhile, I'd like you to go upstairs where I have that little massage oil that's scented, and bring that downstairs and take off my shoes, take off my socks, and give me a nice foot massage. And then he's doing that for a while. And while I'm sitting here enjoying this couch, would you bring me a cup of tea? And then he can bring you a cup of tea. Then you say, and while I'm sitting here drinking my tea, watching you, I'd like you to clean up the kitchen, particularly the sink over there, and do that there. You know, those lights have been, need to be changed. I'd like you to go now into the living room and change those lights for me, would you? And he said, oh, your wish is my command. I love to do this. It's my pleasure to do this. What a delight. You know, see, what we'll start to feel is pure masculinity, which is pride in serving, pride in being of service. That's what we're really about. But we lose that when we feel what I do never makes her happy. And the man who doesn't make enough money for the work, what he's worth, he also has that low testosterone levels, where he loses pride in what he does because he doesn't feel he's being fairly compensated. And so what we have to do in our home, what is the compensation for a man there, is to feel that I make a difference in her life. I'd also like to mention that at times of stress, women go into and some men, they go into this unconscious place of just complaining. Hold your complaints the whole time. No complaints allowed for the next 2 weeks. Just try it out. Write out what you'd like to complain about. And I promise you, you'll see magic happen. You will get so much more love and support from your partner either way. No complaints for 2 weeks, but you can ask for things, particularly in your 20 minutes. And another technique is how to positively ask for things, which is the sandwich. The sandwich, here's how Bonnie, my wife of 34 years, has trained me to turn out lights. That sounds like a little thing, but when your husband for 30 years keeps the lights on when he walks through the living room, he turns them on, he goes out, he leaves them on. It becomes frustrating because many times for women, when they've asked you to do something, you forget, they begin to feel like she's not a priority. But in my life, turning out the lights wasn't a priority because I have all solar energy. So what's the big deal? But anyway, for her, she said, oh, we need to be a good example for everybody. We don't want to waste the electricity. I said, okay, I'll try. But I'd forget because the way she asked, I'll just say my experience. She'd always look at me like, how many times I have to tell you, you did this again. I get so tired of turning out lights. Why don't you do this? And certainly the first year she wasn't that way, but 30 years later, can anything change you? I guess.
You don't care about me, John. You just don't care. If you cared, you would turn the lights out.
That's right. You cared about me. It's okay. So having said that, she then shifted the way she asked for help. She said to me, she felt her heart being somewhat open. So she wasn't like trying to change me. She got that doesn't work. Staring at me doesn't work when you're upset. So she's kind of came into the room. She says, oh, John, I know so many times you turn out those lights and I really appreciate it. And sometimes you forget. So you forgot tonight. I'd really love it if you try to remember. And then instantly she walked out of the room. Now, 1 was the presentation, but 2 was immediately looking the other way and going out of the room to leave me with that so I could feel it was my decision and my choice and my own motivation, as opposed to I'm a bad boy and I have to do what you say. Which is kind of the reaction of feeling controlled, not appreciated. So she gave me a little what I need as a guy to bump up the testosterone, appreciation, overlooking mistakes, not complaining, and asking for help, trusting he'll do it, are major testosterone stimulators. And for women, demonstrating that you care, that you do things for her, that she's a priority, listening to what she's going through, whatever she says, just know, men, focus, listen, ask questions. The 3 big questions to ask is help me understand that better. Instead of trying to finish the conversation, try to encourage it to last longer. And I know some men say, oh, she'll go on forever. I said, no, she won't. She only goes on forever when you're resisting what she's saying. She keeps starting over. Just be present. That means do nothing but try to understand what she's saying from her point of view, and no comments to tell her she shouldn't feel that way. Just let her be.
They're great techniques and great suggestions. I think particularly, during this time that we've been talking about, where there is a lot of stress, and to be putting into your partner right now is a principle that we, often have talked about, and certainly in our last podcast, we talked about it a lot. So I think, that game that you suggested there is going to be wonderful for couples to try. So for those of you that are listening, down below, put up some of the comments and how you're experiencing that and what you are experiencing in trying John's game. We'd love to get that feedback.
And there's lots of free resources. We do lots of free podcasts for you as well. So take the opportunity this is a skill up time. Take the opportunity during this period to learn as much as you can about yourself and about your partner and about the relationship and the differences.
Absolutely. And John has got a complete, literally, volume of books available on marsvenus.com. So you must go and check out his library, like the resources that he has available, and his own free podcasts, lots of blogs there as well, lots of great articles to have a look into. So John, we really appreciate your time. We know you're a very, very busy man, and what you've done today has been absolutely fantastic. Yeah. So we really want to thank you so much for your time and being here with us and making those suggestions from literally, decades of experience in helping couples be more powerful. And like you, we're great believers in the power of marriage, what it can do for us as individuals, what it can do for our world, in fact, by providing that balance, providing a great family, and what we then pass on to future generations because of that. So we want to really thank you, John.
Thank you so much. It's been a real honor to be speaking to you today. And let's all just remember, our issues are coming up. It'll make us stronger. Don't buy into them. Don't believe what you're thinking and feeling right now. It will pass. And if you allow yourself to go through it, your heart will open even more. You will rejoice in greater love than before.
Absolutely. And when we work together, we're far stronger than when we're trying to handle this situation, by ourselves individually. So if you're a guy, don't go and shut down. If you're a woman, again, don't go and shut down. Open up, play John's game, get together.
Give it a go.
And be more powerful together.
If I could add one little thing, I know we're completing, but I did mention that men, when they're thinking about divorce, they're always going, oh, nothing I do works, so why bother? I didn't mention the female side of it, which is often, I do so much for him. I do so much for him. And it's at those times where you realize you need him to do a few more things for you, and your hormones will come into balance, and you'll be able to remember the things he does for you and be able to appreciate that. Because when you don't have the oxytocin and the estrogen, then what happens is blood flow goes to the negative memory and can't remember the positive things, because everything is a balance of negative and positive. So you want to be able to come back to that positive place. So that signal there is, oh, I do so much for him. He does so little for me. Okay, well, just know later today, he's going to do 20 minutes for me. And then the little stuff is just as important as the big stuff. And you'll be able to renew yourself and come back into balance. It just takes some time, and the heart can open again.
Beautiful.
Beautiful, John.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being here, John.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you again.